George Tsilis joins us from Salt Lake, our senior markets correspondent. GT, some positive notes out there this morning, right in time for yesterday's two key losers. Tesla and Apple both down. Let's start with Tesla with Canaccord this morning. Pretty juicy lift to their expectations, about $400, right, north of it?
Yeah, so if you look at Canaccord, they did upgrade Tesla, OJ, to a price target of $404 from $298. They maintain a buy rating on the name. And I think their call is quite interesting. It's not necessarily a call based on delivery guidance, which we know for Q4 was weak, and it was the first annum decline, about 1.1% decline in total volume in 2024 versus 2023. Even though China's sales were higher for Tesla, the total units were down. But the call from Canaccord is really based upon looking at the peer valuations of the constituent Mag 7 or Mag 8, if you want to call them now, including Broadcom, valuation relative to growth. They actually are looking at the forward multiples on their peers, like Apple, for instance, Google, and the other large mega caps at around 23 times, 2027's earnings, and looking at Tesla, which we both all know is trading at a higher multiple than those peers. They actually see the higher multiple is justified, considering the growth rate of Tesla is expected to be double that in sales growth relative to Apple, Google, and the rest of the magnificent seven pack of stocks. So their call is really based on relative valuations of the big tech names compared to the prospects that Tesla has in autonomous driving, energy storage, robotics, as well as, again, potentially increasing market share of sales in their vehicles.
The last part is particularly interesting, considering that we sold off yesterday on the car sales.
Yeah.
So that part is going to have to surprise, because I didn't really think anybody was expecting big growth there. I could see like percent of the pie possibly growing, but that can happen through declining sales as well. So them beating their peers in the EV or just the auto space as a whole doesn't necessarily mean growth.
Correct. And I think it's important you bring up an excellent point, because I have not looked at total vehicle sales across the other, mainstay, hybrid vehicle producers like Honda, Toyota, or even General Motors. I think total vehicle sales are challenged. And so Tesla did demonstrate some declining sales, but it could represent also an opportunity for Tesla to increase their market share, even though the entire market for auto sales may be decelerating. It doesn't necessarily mean Tesla can't encroach on market share while this is going on.
All right. It seems like the other stuff still is really important to the growth case. So if you're going to upgrade Tesla, if you're going to jack your price target up because it's the best of the Mag 7, boy, that's a pretty bold note from this team, considering that it's in a different world of valuation, like in a different, galaxy. It's not even, in the same category, really.
Obviously, OJ, there's an element of, Elon Musk following the golden rule of capitalism. I mean, those who have the gold make the rules. And so, with his tied connections to Trump, obviously the market is adjusting the price of the stock higher as a result of the expectations that the regulatory framework and maybe even the EV tax credit framework will be beneficial for Elon Musk.
But that's okay. So perfect thing to mention there, because that's the whole point about their market share relative to others not being the same as growth, right? Because you can have fewer car sales, but you have a bigger percentage.
Correct.
And that's where this whole logic of their regulatory heaven being that they killed the EV tax credit. It's like the most silly thing I've ever heard. That's not good for Tesla. It might be good for them relative to their peers, because the peers might get hit more, but it's the most ridiculous bull case I think I've heard of the whole thing. If you want to say that they're going to allow them to do the robo-taxis in every city and Trump's just going to sign off, whatever, that's one thing. But like the idea that the EV tax credit getting killed when they just got it approved for the Cybertruck is a good thing to me, it's just so absurd.
Yeah, I think right now, at the very least, at least this year, the tax credit is obviously foremost. It's a front burner issue for Tesla when it comes down to top line sales. And of course, bottom line, subsidies for both Tesla as a producer and consumers alike who are purchasing their vehicles.
Yeah. All right. Hey, George, what about the Apple note? $260 from Bernstein, $20 more than what they had thought, $240. They're not going to wait around for more details on holiday sales.
Well, yeah, so the call for Bernstein, I think, is also interesting. They actually increased their target to 260 from 240, and they're looking at the broad aspects of IT spending, and they're looking at peers like Dell in the server and computing space, Hewlett Packard, and IBM, as well as Apple, because we disregard Apple's computing technology, which is actually quite good, including the Mac and iPad Pro. So I think their call here is the expectations of a robust IT upgrade cycle. I can speak for myself. I did upgrade my computer this last year. Haven't done so since the pandemic. My computer was actually running extremely slow. So I think we're probably in the midst of seeing that occur, broadly speaking, across the board, particularly when you have artificial intelligence apps running in the background. Everyone's going to need more computing power. So that is the call here from Bernstein, but also they do suggest within their call that the innovative platform that Apple have is, of course, the go-to continuing recurring revenue for Apple. In other words, their service platform versus their hardware platform is really where the growth is for this business. But it's obviously pulled back quite a bit off the highs. It may be retesting some of those levels that it broke out of going back to October of last year.
Right. Isn't that kind of like what they do? Isn't that the Apple way? Update the software, bulk it up, crash the phone, crash the device, and you got to get a new one. It's kind of the old two-step. All right, I'm not trying to be a cynic this morning, but that's kind of what they do. Then you got to go upgrade your stuff.
Planned obsolescence.
Exactly.
That's right. Absolutely.
All right. Get your computer fixed, George. Thanks, GT.
We'll do, OJ.
All right, man.
Thanks, buddy.